My name is Eva. I am 25 years old today, but the story I want to share with you is from many years ago. It is not always happy, but it is mine. I want to tell it because maybe someone like me, someone who feels lost, might need to hear these words. I grew up in a small town close to the mountains. Winters there were long and cold. Snow covered the trees, ice shined on the roads, and the nights were quiet. But when spring came, flowers opened everywhere. The wind carried the smell of grass and sweet petals. Our house was small, only one floor, with two bedrooms and a tiny kitchen, but it was warm. It was full of laughter, simple meals, and soft light. My parents were Clara and Daniel. My mother worked in a bakery in town. Every morning, she baked bread, cakes, and cookies. She always came home smelling of sugar and flour. My father fixed cars in a little garage. His hands were rough and sometimes covered in oil, but when he hugged me, they were the warmest hands in the world. I always believed I was their daughter. Nobody ever told me anything else. I looked like them, so I never wondered. My hair was brown like my mother's. My eyes were blue like my father's. I thought everything made sense. We lived like a normal family. We played board games, shared dinners, and had movie nights. Every evening we sat at the same wooden table, talking about our day. My father called me sunshine and kissed my forehead every night. My mother sang soft songs when I was sick and made soup when I had a cold. I thought every child had the same life. I felt safe, loved, and complete. But when I turned 13, everything changed. It was a gray afternoon in November. The wind was loud outside, and I was upstairs doing homework. My Aunt Rosa came to visit. She was my father's sister. She spoke loudly and often without thinking. She and my mother sat in the kitchen drinking tea. I walked downstairs to get water, and I stopped near the kitchen door when I heard my name. Rosa said, "Eva doesn't know she's adopted." My heart stopped. I froze. I listened. My mother's voice was soft. "No, not yet. We will tell her when the time is right." "But she's already 13," Rosa answered. "She should know." I felt my whole body shaking. Adopted? What did that mean? I pressed my back against the wall. My mind went dark. That night, I didn't sleep. My pillow was wet with tears. My heart was broken before I even asked my parents. But in the morning, I had no choice. I went to the kitchen, and they were there like always. My mother was making toast. My father was reading the newspaper. I asked in a small voice, "Am I adopted?" My mother turned slowly. Her eyes were full of sadness. "Yes, sweetheart," she whispered, "but we love you more than anything." My chest hurt. I shouted, "You lied to me. You are not my real parents." My father put the newspaper down. He didn't shout back. He just looked sad. He walked over and put his hand on my shoulder. "We never wanted to hurt you," he said. "We were going to tell you one day. We just didn't know how." But I was angry. I felt betrayed. I told them I wanted to find my real parents. They didn't fight me. My mother went to my room and packed a small bag. clothes, a scarf, some food. My father gave me a little money. Their eyes were full of sorrow, but they didn't stop me. I walked out of the house, slamming the door. I remembered something Rosa once said. My birth parents lived in a city called Hillcrest, 2 hours away by bus. I walked to the station, bought a ticket, and sat near the window. The trees passed by, the sky looked heavy. My heart was like a stone. When I arrived, I walked to an old address I had written in my notebook years ago. The houses were small and broken. I knocked on the door. A woman opened it. She had gray in her hair and tired eyes. A thin man appeared behind her. He looked at me for a long moment. "Eva?" he asked. "Yes," I said. "I think I'm your daughter." He didn't smile. He didn't hug me. Then another person appeared, a teenage boy with hard eyes. "Why are you here?" he shouted. "We don't have room. We don't have food." The man said quietly, "Life is hard here. We can't take care of you. I'm sorry, Eva." I felt like the ground opened under me. I turned and walked away. Nobody stopped me. Nobody asked where I would sleep. I walked until I reached a bench near the river. The water was dark. The air was sharp and cold. I sat with my bag and thought maybe no one wanted me. Maybe no one ever loved me. For a moment, I thought about jumping into the water. I thought about ending everything. But a small voice inside said, "Don't." With shaking hands, I took out my phone. I sent a message to my adoptive mother. "Please help me. I want to come home. If you don't, I will jump into the river." I waited. 10 minutes. 20. My tears fell fast. I thought they would ignore me. Then the phone beeped. A message: "We will send money now. Please wait. Please don't hurt yourself. We love you. Please come home." I cried harder, but now there was hope. 2 hours later, I had enough money to buy a bus ticket back. The bus ride was quiet. I looked out of the window but saw nothing, only my own reflection. I thought about Clara and Daniel, the people I had shouted at. I thought about how I left them without goodbye. When I reached my town at midnight, everything was silent. I walked to our house. The light was on in the living room. I opened the door. My mother was on the couch. My father was by the window. When they saw me, they didn't ask questions. They didn't shout. My mother stood up and hugged me tight. My father took my bag gently. "Come, sit," my mother said. "You must be cold." She gave me a blanket. My father made tea and soup. They sat beside me while I ate. I didn't speak that night. I just ate, then went to my room. Everything was the same. My bed, my books, my blue blanket. But I was not the same. The next morning, my mother came with tea. She sat by me. I whispered, "I'm sorry." She touched my hair. "You are our daughter forever." I cried in her arms. I asked, "Why didn't you tell me?" She said, "We were afraid. We didn't want to lose you." I understood then. They were not perfect, but their love was real. That day, my father brought flowers. "Welcome home, princess," he said. He had called me that when I was small. I cried again, but this time it was from love. Slowly, life returned. I helped my mother bake cookies. I went back to school. I laughed with my friends. At dinner, I called Clara Mom again. She cried, but they were happy tears. We never spoke about the river or the cold house in Hillcrest. We just moved forward. We made new traditions. Pancakes every Saturday. Movie nights again. My parents showed me love, not anger. They never said we told you so. Years passed. I grew older. I studied nursing because I wanted to help people the way my parents helped me. I worked in a small clinic, listening to stories of pain and healing. Now I live near Clara and Daniel. They are older, but they're still my parents. Every weekend I visit. I cook, I clean, I take them to the doctor. We drink tea and laugh. Sometimes we sit in silence, and that silence feels warm. I sometimes remember that night at the river. I remember the words, "We don't have room." And then I remember the blanket, the soup, the hug. That is what I keep. My birth parents were just one chapter, but my real story is with Clara and Daniel, the ones who chose me, loved me, and stayed. Love is not about blood. Love is about who stays when you fall, who waits for your message, who gives you soup and says, "Welcome home." I now write in a small notebook. One page says, "You don't need to be born into a family to belong in one." Another says, "Kindness is louder than words." The last says, "Even when you feel lost, someone is waiting for you to come home." Sometimes I look in the mirror and think of that scared 13-year-old girl who ran away. She didn't know she was already loved. But now I know. I was always loved. I was never alone. My heart still remembers pain, but it also remembers healing. I smile more. I love more. I forgive faster. My story is not broken. It is made of shadows and light, and most of all, love. Thank you for listening to my story. If it touched your heart, don't forget to like, comment, and share. More stories are coming soon.